Robert, I think you did well back in your hometown. Your parents must be proud of you working hard at a big company's branch." She said these words with a seemingly joyful laugh. "My husband just got promoted to manager. He's different from a high school graduate at the bottom of the hierarchy like you." Feeling the good memories of my school days crumble, I smiled her back and said, "Starting next month, your husband will be unemployed." The words flowed out smoothly, and Susan looked bewildered. She probably still couldn't understand my words. "What?" From her neatly adorned lips came a voice that sounded more foolish than I expected. "My name is Robert Jones, and I'm 45 years old. I usually work in New York City, but today I returned to my hometown for a reunion. My parents were delighted to see me back home, and we had a feast from the morning. Honestly, I didn't grow up wealthy. My father was an ordinary office worker, and my mother worked part-time to support the family. I also helped my parents by doing household chores and part-time jobs. Even so, I had my own youth and sweet memories. I started dating my classmate Susan in the summer of our second year in high school. I wasn't in any clubs because I had to help with family finances, but she was in the marching band. We used to meet up after her late band practices and my part-time job, sharing a sweet, innocent relationship. Although we didn't have much time together, I think we made the most of it. Susan often came to the restaurant where I worked, and I attended her band competitions whenever I could. She praised me for helping out at home, but she also mentioned feeling lonely because we couldn't meet often. Back then, I struggled to find more time for us. I thought we were doing well enough, at least. I had no complaints and tried to give her whatever she wanted. I loved seeing her smile every time I made her happy. But suddenly, she told me to end our relationship. The reason was very simple. "Because, Robert, you're planning to get a job, right?" "Well, yeah, but you also said you didn't intend to leave our hometown." "I've changed my mind. I'm going to a junior college in the city." Surprised by her curt reply, I asked, "When did you change your plans, Susan?" By the time I started feeling a disconnect, she had probably already decided to break up with me. I was taken aback by her sudden words, which she said on the morning of graduation. "Then, even long distance." "We couldn't even make time now. Long distance is impossible. I want to go to the city with nothing to leave behind." With that, she left with a fresh, brisk expression on her face. I ended up crying at the graduation ceremony, getting teased for being overly emotional, but thanks to that, almost no one knew about my heartbreak. With good grades and recommendations from teachers and my dad, I secured a job at a major company's branch in my hometown. After working tirelessly, I was transferred to the headquarters in about 5 years. I met my current wife after starting working at the headquarters. She was a colleague in the same department, and I appreciated her similar work ethic. We often exchanged ideas and sometimes argued. But by listening to each other's negative feedback, we found better solutions and realized our narrow perspectives. She mentioned feeling the same, and we'd share a wry smile. That night, I confessed my love to her at a bar I invited her to. Now, it's become a fond memory. We got married and now have 2 children. Because I'm happy now, I had the courage to attend the reunion. As evening fell, I dressed neatly in my suit and left the house. "Well, I'm off later," I said, and my parents wished me a good time. The reunion was held at a luxurious hotel recently opened by a major company. The restaurant on the top floor was reserved for the event, and the attendees seemed excited. I was one of them. I've experienced fine dining in upscale restaurants and inns, but this hotel's spacious hall and fresh vegetables from local farms were exceptional. And the local beer they recently started brewing was quite impressive. The reunion banquet was a standing buffet with a variety of dishes laid out. People were enjoying themselves, ordering cocktails at the counter or sitting in groups at available seats. Among them, I encountered a group of women chatting loudly. At the center was Susan. Even though it's all in the past, I felt a sharp pain in my chest. She was as bright and cheerful as in our school days, still in the center of the girls' group, and her once cute face had matured into a radiant beauty. Her slightly flashy makeup reflected her life in the city, drawing envious glances from the local girls. After a moment of hesitation, I decided to leave the scene. Dating her was a thing of the past, and she probably had no desire to talk to an ex at this event. I didn't intend to share my life story with her either. However, she quickly spotted me and called out, "Oh, isn't that Robert? Long time no see." "Yeah, it's been a while, Susan. We're not on a first-name basis anymore," she said, frowning as if displeased by my familiarity. Realizing she used to call me by my last name too, I was about to apologize when she added, "It's Smith now. I got married, and my name is Susan Smith." "Oh, I see. Congratulations, Mrs. Smith," I said, and she smiled happily. "Thank you. I'm truly happy now, so it's nice to hear congratulations from you." Susan laughed cheerfully. But for some reason, I sensed something behind her smile. Was I overthinking it? Just then, Susan spoke again. Her clear voice rang like a bell. "It was definitely the right decision to break up with you at graduation." Her voice echoed through the venue, causing a stir among the attendees. People knew we had dated, but only a few close friends knew when we broke up. Even those people didn't know the details of who dumped whom. But with her word, everyone knew I was the one who got dumped. There was no need to say that here, and so loudly. A feeling of unease welled up inside me as I had been enjoying my drink. As expected, things got difficult after that. Classmates swarmed me, asking about what had happened back then. While I was feeling weary, Susan answered their questions cheerfully. "Wait, so Mrs. Smith dumped him?" "Yes, because Robert planned to stay in our hometown. I got into a junior college in the city, and long distance wasn't feasible." "Really? But Robert had good grades and got a job at a company affiliated with this hotel, right?" The girls buzzed, saying I was still a promising prospect in our hometown. "Well, maybe in a place like this, but in the city, there are plenty of amazing people." "Really, so Mr. Smith is an elite who graduated from a prestigious high school. He works at the headquarters of this hotel's company." The girls screamed in admiration. Of course, some moved to the city, but none were as sophisticated and glamorous as Susan. To them, Susan was a shining success story. The classmates who stayed in their hometown loved it, but still had a bit of longing for the city. They gazed enviously at Susan, who smiled radiantly, surrounded by admirers. The guys felt even more uncomfortable. Some made decent progress in the city, but they didn't want to be compared to Susan's husband's academic background. Some watched from a distance, while others who continued local businesses or farms stayed far away. Even if they were happy with their lives, it was clear that Susan would belittle them to boast about her husband. So it was inevitable that I, who dated her in school, would become the target. Actually, Robert got a job at a branch of the same company, but my husband went straight to the headquarters after graduating from college. "Wow, you met such a wonderful person in the city. That's amazing. Education really matters, doesn't it? He's a prospect, right?" The girls giggled and glanced at me. Honestly, I felt uncomfortable, but I pretended not to care. As long as they were enjoying themselves, I didn't mind. Though it was irritating to be compared and to have my breakup publicly discussed. I didn't want to make a scene and attract attention. But that was probably Susan's goal. She walked towards me, surrounded by the other girls. Dressed in luxury and moving gracefully, she acted like a queen. For the local women, the branded items she had, which were unattainable here, made them regretful but at the same time enviable. Susan wanted to use me to showcase her right choices and success. To show she left a local guy and found great success in the city. I sighed at her obvious intentions. "Oh, sighing at the sight of me, that's cruel. Don't you think you might be causing it?" Oh, that's just an accusation. In this glittering hall, at this fancy party, it was still just a local reunion. Susan could only act this way in such a place. Those of us who moved to the city, including myself, sensed this. Sure, this hotel is owned by a major company, but she is just the wife of one of its employees. There were probably many women in the city with more status and honor than her. So, if she wanted to stand out and shine at this reunion, I wouldn't interfere. But if she was going to step on me to do so, that's a different story. I was dumped suddenly and carried that heartbreak for a long time. I finally recovered after meeting my wife, and I wouldn't stay silent if she reopened those wounds just to brag. Robert, I think you did well in your hometown. Your parents must be proud of you working hard at a big company's branch. She said these words with a seemingly joyful laugh. My husband just got promoted to manager. He's different from a high school graduate at the bottom of the hierarchy like you. Susan laughed loudly. Feeling the good memories of my school days crumble, I smiled her back and said, starting next month, your husband will be unemployed. The words flowed out smoothly, and Susan looked bewildered. She probably still couldn't understand my words. Huh? From her neatly adorned lips came a voice that sounded more foolish than I expected. The room fell silent. My words seemed to have echoed more than I thought. What? What are you talking about? What right do you have to say such things? Susan's face turned red as she began to understand, her voice filled with irritation. Executive CEO authority, maybe. What are you talking about, Robert? You're just an employee at the branch, right? You might have gotten a promotion, but lying is the worst. Susan said, her voice trembling. The girls around us whispered among themselves, looking at me. Many knew I had gotten a job at the branch. However, only a few friends knew what happened afterward. Friends who stayed in the hometown and took over family farms buried their heads in their hands, while those who moved to the city shrugged their shoulders. None of them tried to stop me. They probably had their own thoughts about her behavior. Come on, just because I dumped you, lying like that is really low, Susan said, her face showing disappointment and contempt. Do you really enjoy boasting about dumping me? That's a different matter. You think you were right to dump me, don't you? Don't worry, I think so too. Susan looked stunned for a moment, then her face turned red with anger. What are you talking about? Even if that's true for me, it's not for you. I heard you cried a lot after we broke up. That's right. How do you know that? It was common gossip. A few people who had been glancing at us averted their eyes. Well, it's true that I was pretty messed up after the breakup, so it's no surprise. Most people who stayed in the hometown knew about it. Damn it, that's true. But because of that, I worked hard. In that sense, maybe I should thank you. I handed Susan a business card as I spoke. Seeing the name, her face showed shock. Her eyes grew wide as she stared at the card. No, this can't be true. If you went to this extent, it would be fraud. Are you serious? You still don't believe it. Exasperated by Susan's refusal to accept the reality, I sighed. Then call your husband or check the company's website. I know. Susan started fiddling with her phone, and others began searching too. Those who knew what I am now just nodded. Eventually, Susan, seemingly convinced, collapsed to her knees. Really, Robert? You really are the CEO? Yeah, a lot happened after that. I told her about meeting my wife after starting at the headquarters. So, you're married too, Robert? Yeah, it was really tough back then, but meeting my wife made it all worthwhile. But even so, isn't that a bit too fast for a promotion? I mumbled and continued. Yeah, well, after I confessed and we started dating, she told me she was actually the chairman's granddaughter. What? That's just marrying into money. I earned my position. I proved myself and got recognized. Susan's indignant shout made me yell back. It's true that I ended up looking like marrying into money, but I only found out after we started dating seriously. It was a complete surprise to me too. For the record, I've worked with your husband, Mr. Smith, too. He was a good colleague. He congratulated me when I got promoted and even followed me up the ranks. We weren't close family friends, so I never imagined Susan would be his wife. We hadn't seen each other until this reunion, living our lives without crossing paths. I expected to see her here, but never thought we'd been living so close without knowing. That's why she felt free to trample on me, thinking it was safe. But everything she did backfired. So, you really could fire my husband, couldn't you, Robert? Finally believing what I said, Susan slumped in defeat. Some of the girls approached her with concern, but she just muttered to herself, likely cursing me under her breath. Although she is the one who started the quarrel, I did threaten her in retaliation. Of course, I have no intention of firing Mr. Smith. He's a very valuable employee. I'm not a tyrant who would fire someone without cause, and I wouldn't have earned the respect of my wife or the chairman if I were. But Susan didn't understand that way. Maybe she felt guilty for dumping me. Believing my words completely, Susan began to cry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll apologize. Just please forgive me. I was startled by her sudden plea, clinging to me. The people around us stared at me in shock. He worked so hard. He was so happy to become a manager, but he always wanted to go further, to chase those ahead. Yeah, I know how hard he's worked. Right, so, please don't fire him. If you hate me, I'll leave him. No, you don't need to do that. But no one could stop Susan from crying and pleading loudly. Instead, critical eyes were on me. Robert, it's impressive that you've become so successful, but that was. Mrs. Smith's way of speaking wasn't good, but still. I heard the whispers around me. I understand what they mean. I do regret my words. But I have my side of the story too. I worked hard, earned recognition, and finally got permission to marry my wife. The struggles and pressure I faced are something only I know. I didn't do it for anyone's praise. I worked hard to marry my wife. It felt like all my efforts were being denied, and I ended up saying something harsh. Hey, calm down. I promise, I'm not going to fire him. I'm not that kind of boss. I desperately tried to reassure Susan. I was the one belittled and mocked, yet here I was trying to console her. Really, absolutely sure, he won't suffer at work because of me. He'll be fine. Mr. Smith is one of the best employees we have, and is irreplaceable for our company. Susan looked genuinely relieved. Oh, thank you. Really, thank you. I'm so glad. I don't want to be a burden to him. You really love Mr. Smith, don't you? Of course, I wouldn't have married him otherwise. Her words made me think of my own wife. It wasn't just the pain of heartbreak. I married my wife because I love her. And it was the same for Susan. She might have boasted about education and career, but in reality, she married the person she loved and wanted to show that off. Even so, that doesn't justify her treating me like dirt. But I do regret saying too much. Sorry, I got angry and said too much. At my words, Susan finally looked directly at me. I'm sorry too. She managed to stop crying, but she still looked downcast. I didn't want to regret giving up my first love. Meeting my husband and finding happiness was because I broke up with you. I see. I never imagined you'd be happier than me after we broke up. Maybe I didn't want to imagine it. It felt like we were both in the same boat. I can't say I didn't want to prove her wrong. In fact, that's why I said those harsh words. Sorry everyone, we spoiled the mood. I'm sorry too. It was my fault for starting it. We both apologized, and eventually, soft laughter spread through the quiet hall. Honestly, you two haven't changed a bit. Really, you two always caused so much trouble when you fought. Indeed, laughter erupted from those who had been watching, soon turning into full-blown laughter from everyone around. This was quite embarrassing. Susan must have felt the same. She's blushing. Eventually, people started coming over to us, and before we knew it, the lively party resumed. Susan and I, along with all our classmates, enjoyed the reunion as if we had returned to our school days. So, in the end, you all partied until morning. My wife, Dorothy, laughed heartily as she listened to the reunion story. Do you have to laugh so much? But I was worried when you said you were going to see your first love at the reunion. Dorothy laughed, wondering how it turned out to be such a funny story. Okay, let's stop saying things with that serious face. After the reunion, I returned to work in New York City, and my wife, who is my secretary, made tea while laughing. I knew you were hung up on your first love from school, but I didn't expect her to be so close. That surprised me too. The world is surprisingly small. I can't believe Manager Smith's wife is your ex-girlfriend. Come to think of it, I wasn't in the same department as him back then, so I didn't attend their wedding. Did you go to their wedding, Dorothy? Yes, I did. It's hard to believe that the beautiful bride was your ex. If I had been there, this whole mess might have been avoided. Dorothy looked conflicted at my words. What? I think it was good that you didn't go. She looked really happy. Well, that's good to hear, isn't it? Dorothy sighed at my response. If I had seen your ex-girlfriend looking happy after breaking up with you and noticed any lingering feelings on your face, I would have slapped you. I see. I understand your feelings, but I think it would have been okay. And why is that? Dorothy glared at me as I replied. I'm not foolish enough to look elsewhere after meeting you, Dorothy. Hearing those words, Dorothy smiled with satisfaction. Neither Susan nor I would have been attracted to each other again, even if we had met in the city. We had both already met the most important person in our lives. Hey, it's overcooked. It's charred. Are you going to serve such things to our kids? Gosh, I messed up the heat. I'll eat the burnt ones, okay? Shouting and laughing, Susan and I grilled the meat and vegetables. Today, we are having a barbecue with 2 other couples and my 2 kids. Oh, it's adorable. Don't you think so too? No, I trust my wife. We've started socializing as families, and I couldn't help feeling jealous as I watched my daughter cling to Susan. She never clung to me like that. Look, the meat is ready, Mike. Come and get some. Susan called her husband while handing the perfectly cooked meat to her son. Her voice was soft and happy, different from our school days, and I didn't want to be outdone. Dorothy, come over here and eat with us. Seeing my wife smiling, I was certain I made the right decision. Both Susan and I had to let go of something to move on, and there were times when it hurt. But now, that pain is gone. We've both been blessed with good partners and are living happily.